Hey everybody, it's Justin from Save and Reload, and today I'm bringing you the latest look into our world of gaming by looking at the game Titanfall. Now that it's out, and it's been out for a little while, it's out for both consoles, on the Xbox One and the 360, as well as the PC. But what I really want to talk about is whether Titanfall is really the future of the console and PC shooter, which a lot of people have been saying. We've seen it on Twitter, Facebook, we even heard about it in different game conventions, stuff like that. We hear it at PAX, we hear it online, just all over the place. Titanfall represents the future, especially that of the Xbox One. This game is really showing the direction that Microsoft wants to take with their new flagship console. So, is it really gonna be the next big thing? Well, what we've seen so far is that it's pushed a lot more consoles, especially in the UK, than any other game really has. Titanfall's probably the first game that people are really looking at it and going, I could buy an Xbox One for this. Although for the people that either can't afford or don't want an Xbox One, they can still get it on the 360. So that brings up the whole debate of whether this is actually a next-gen title, but let's ignore all that. We'll just talk about whether it does represent the future. So let's talk about what Titanfall brings to the table that's actually new. So to give you a rundown, if you haven't played Titanfall before, it's essentially a split mode game. It's a first-person shooter, and you have on one side the pilot, which is basically your run-of-the-mill kind of on-the-ground infantry soldier with the special ability to be able to double jump, run on walls, do all kinds of crazy things like cloak, and have active radar and scoping pulse and stuff like that. But the big thing that this game brings to the table that's new that you don't see in a lot of flagship mainstream shooters like Call of Duty or Halo. Well, I guess Halo a little bit with Halo 4, but the big thing that this has is mechs, and they're called Titans in this game, hence the name Titanfall. So basically, these mechs are giant mechanized bodysuits that come down from space into your battlefield, and they're just giant assault vehicles that act as a support class or a highly offensive primary class for your team, depending on what kind of game mode you're playing and all kinds of different things. But is this really new? It's hard to say. Mechs have been done for a while. They've been done in many other games. One that I know I played when I was younger on the original Xbox was Mech Assault. It was a lot of fun. It was a mech-based game, but it was missing elements of Titanfall, such as being able to play as an infantry pilot. So a lot of things that Titanfall does, it borrows from other games. The Titans are just the first of many. There's other things that it does, like being able to do the parkour aspect of the combat. That's been done in games like Mirror's Edge. We saw it in smaller games that weren't so successful, like Shadowrun. Maybe you've heard of that one, the first cross-platform between PC and Xbox 360 game. Also, we saw in Halo the inclusion of the jetpack and things that allowed you to get around the map and traverse it more than other games really did, especially other Halo games. So, is that new? Kind of. It's a new way of doing it. I'd say the parkour is definitely a lot more fluid than it is in games like Mirror's Edge, where you have to control every single aspect of your motion by pushing left bumper, A, right bumper, spin around, do a backflip, all that kind of thing. This game is a lot smoother than that. It's just kind of press A and hold the stick in the direction you want to go, and it happens. You just have to time your jumps. So it feels a lot smoother, a lot more buttery. This game also has inclusions from other kinds of games. Like we see the inclusion of grunts, like you might see in a MOBA game, where they're basically AI characters that are on the map that you can farm for kills, farm for points. You can unlock challenges by shooting them. You can kill them for different points and experience levels in the game and actually help your team win. The game's really only 6v6, so unlike games like Battlefield, where you have massively multiplayer online first-person shooting, this game is 6v6, but it feels a lot bigger and a lot more fleshed out by including these AI grunt characters. So grunts are kind of new. We've seen them in campaigns of other games, but in Titanfall, what it really does is give the illusion that the game's a lot more full of people than it really is. And it's cool to see the blend of gameplay qualities like a MOBA game by including grunts in something like a first-person shooter such as Titanfall. You also have something really cool called burn cards. Burn cards are like basically perks. They're a different take on what perks can be in a first-person shooter game, and we've seen perks in games like Call of Duty, of course, for years. Perks are essentially upgrades that you can get and customize for yourself based on your level. You can purchase them, unlock them, and they're permanent power upgrades for your character. Titanfall does this in a different way. You can still unlock weapon upgrades and things like that that are permanent, but burn cards are temporary one-life power-ups that you can use, and there's a lot of different ones that are pretty unique. Some of them are kind of run-of-the-mill. Like, for example, there's one that basically gives you an amped up version of any weapon that is in the game. So it gives you a more powerful version of the 3-shot burst rifle, such as the Hemlock, or you can get an amped smart pistol that takes less time to lock on and is substantially more powerful. There's a lot of different burn cards that just focus on weapons, but there's also burn cards that, for example, take time off the amount of time that the Titan takes to drop in the middle of the game, so you can get a Titan earlier, which does a very good thing for your team by giving it the advantage offensively. You can actually convert enemy grunts to your team. You can get more points and more time off your Titan drop by shooting at pilots, grunts, specters. There's all kinds of different burn cards. Everything that you could imagine is included in a burn card. It's really cool and a lot of fun. You can use 3 per game, and you tend to unlock a lot if you're unlocking challenges, so you never get bored. There's always that variety in the game, and there's just nothing more satisfying than killing somebody in the game and taking their burn card away, since they only last for 1 life. That has got to be one of the most satisfying feelings in Titanfall. It's just great. You see burn card canceled, just like, yes, I did it. Awesome. So burn cards are pretty cool. They're definitely a very unique thing that this game brings to the table that I haven't really seen in any other online first-person shooter games. One other kind of controversial thing about this game that's somewhat new is the fact that it's always online and it's only multiplayer. So there is a campaign, and the campaign is, it's there. It's not really anything but there. Its campaign is basically a multiplayer level system with some kind of story around it. But what ends up happening when you're playing the campaign is you're playing multiplayer games and there's AI people talking on top of it. That's really all that it does. I still don't even know what happens, and I played through it, I think, 2 or 3 times, so the campaign is there, and that's about it. So single player, not so much, but this kind of leads into the next part of what I was about to talk about with Titanfall and how unique it is, in that it is one of the first games to use Xbox's Azure platform, or Microsoft's Azure platform rather, to actually offload computations from the game into the cloud and online, so that your console doesn't have to bear the brunt work of the entire game. So Titanfall is one of the first games to do this. Why? Because a lot of people are skeptical about it. Game developers are not really sure if this is a real thing that they can trust, because you have to be connected online for your game to work. It's a very iffy thing, especially because it locks out all the people that can't access an internet connection to play your game. So Titanfall, what it does, if there's a lot of things happening in a singular frame, for example, that frame will be preloaded in the cloud and then essentially streamed to your console. It's not streamed in the sense of like a video, but essentially the mathematics that go on behind the scenes to make that frame happen. A lot of that can be completed outside of your console, so that way your console is freed up so that you don't have latency, there's not as much lag. So all that stuff is processed off-site, so it can actually deliver a more powerful and better looking game performance to you that you can enjoy more. So the cloud compute is definitely new. So really what we come down to here are some new things, some old things, some blends of some different aspects of a lot of different games that are out there. The cloud compute is definitely one of the newest and most unique things about Titanfall. As far as the burn card system, that's essentially a perk system, but I'll count that as new. Another thing that's new is that there's no single player in this game. It's all multiplayer. That's a very, very different take on a first-person shooter, because usually they include a campaign to keep people that can't access online happy. But there's a lot of other recycled things that aren't so new, such as the introduction of verticality into the first-person shooter space. Other games have done that, like Halo Reach, Shadowrun, and Mirror's Edge, just to name a few. Wall running is another thing that I'd include in that. Other games like, again, Mirror's Edge, or even games like Assassin's Creed have had that. And also there's other gameplay features such as active camouflage that have really been included in a lot of games, Halo being one of the most famous of these. So what's my verdict? Titanfall isn't really doing anything unheard of other than being a full-price AAA multiplayer-only game and relying on Microsoft's cloud. But it is a console seller. We've seen that, especially in the UK. This game is capable of moving a lot of Xbox One consoles. There's a lot of speculation that this game is Microsoft's new killer app, and that remains to be seen for the future, but we've seen a lot of really great stuff so far, and what we've heard at different conventions, such as PAX East, is that Titanfall is going to be supported by Respawn, that's the development company behind Titanfall, that this game is going to be developed and added to and improved for a long time. So it is indicative of the fact that they are dedicated to making this game the best experience they can. So in a world where online multiplayer shooters are plentiful, Titanfall kind of needs to do a little bit more to carve out its own space in that market, but ultimately, so far they've done an amazing job with making this game unique, enjoyable, fun, accessible, and also successful. People are loving to play this game, and it is easily one of the most powerful games and popular games on the Xbox One console, and soon to be on the Xbox 360. So we'll see what happens in the future, but as of right now, Titanfall looks to be extremely promising, and oh man, it's a lot of fun. We've been having a lot of fun playing Titanfall, and we look forward to the new maps, new game modes, all those new things that are going to be coming out in the future, and to see what the future holds for this game. It's a good time to be a gamer. Thanks, everybody. This has been Justin from Save and Reload, and we'll talk to you later.